Your $700 four-season tent is an engineering failure, and the outdoor industry hopes you never figure that out. That thin shell of nylon and aluminum poles you trust with your life provides zero insulation. None. It is a glorified windbreaker shaped like a dome. Meanwhile, a hole dug into a snowdrift by a man with no formal education and no synthetic fabrics 200 years ago held a stable 32 degrees Fahrenheit inside, while a blizzard raged at minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit outside. That is a 72-degree temperature differential, and no tent ever manufactured on this planet can touch it. The mountain men of the American Rockies, Jim Bridger, John Colter, Kit Carson, survived winters that would shred your expedition tent in hours using nothing but snow, animal hides, pine branches, and knowledge from the people the modern world forgot to listen to. Everything you were told about winter shelter is backwards. Picture the Wind River Valley, winter of 1823. A man named James Kleiman is kneeling in snow up to his thighs, his hands so numb from cold he cannot grip his flint and steel. He and his partner, William Sublette, had ventured out from their winter camp among the Crow people near present-day Lander, Wyoming, to kill a buffalo. They got the buffalo. They also got caught on the open plains when a blizzard roared in at sundown. The wind was stripping heat from their bodies faster than their muscles could generate it. Their flintlock rifles, the most advanced survival technology of the era, would not even produce a spark. So Kleiman did the only thing a mountain man could do. He pulled a buffalo robe over himself, pressed his body against the frozen ground, and let the snow bury him. That robe, a winter-taken bison hide with 2 layers of dense fur, was his tent, his sleeping bag, his insulated shelter, and his survival. At dawn, Kleiman scraped through the ashes of the previous night's fire and found a single coal no larger than a grain of corn. He breathed it back to life and saved both their lives. Sublette was nearly dead, barely able to move, but fire and roasted meat revived him. They rode 4 miles through a foot of fresh snow to reach timber, where they found the remains of an old Indian shelter with one wall still standing. That half-ruined structure, combined with fire and fur, was enough. They walked out alive. Now, here is the thing that should bother you. Kleiman was not lucky. He was competent. He understood materials the way an engineer understands load-bearing calculations. Snow was not his enemy. It was insulation. Wind was not something to fight against. It was something to build around. The buffalo robe was not a blanket. It was a portable shelter system with an R value that modern sleeping bags still struggle to match. So what happened? What did men like Kleiman know about surviving winter that we have collectively decided to forget? Before we go further, I want to ask you something. Have you ever been in a tent during a serious winter storm and felt that creeping bone-deep cold that no sleeping bag seemed to stop? Have you ever watched your breath condense on the tent walls and drip back down onto your gear, soaking everything, making the cold worse? Drop a comment and tell me about the worst night you have ever spent in a tent, because what you are about to discover will fundamentally change how you understand winter shelter. And it starts with a material you have been walking on your entire life without realizing it was the greatest insulator nature ever made. Let us look at what you are actually buying when you purchase a modern four-season tent. You are getting a shell of ripstop nylon or polyester, typically 20 to 40 denier. Thick, stretched over aluminum or carbon fiber poles. The fabric blocks wind and precipitation. That is it. That is the entire thermal contribution. The R value of tent fabric is effectively 0. Your body heat might raise the interior 10 to 20 degrees above outside temperature in still air, but in a blizzard with winds of 40 miles per hour, that number collapses. A field test published by Backpacker magazine in Michigan's Upper Peninsula at 9 degrees Fahrenheit measured a premium four-season tent, the Nemo Alti Storm, a respected expedition model, gaining only 19 degrees over outside conditions. In the same test, a hand-built igloo gained 27 degrees. A quingy, a hollowed-out snow pile that takes about 2 hours to build, gained 23 degrees. The snow shelters beat the tent, and that was at 9 degrees above zero, not at the -40 conditions the Rockies routinely deliver. Now, here is where it gets worse. Most four-season tents have a hard wind-resistant ceiling around 70 to 90 miles per hour. The Mont Epoch, one of the very few tents with published wind tunnel data, tested to 87 miles per hour. Beyond that threshold, poles snap, fabric tears, stakes rip from the ground, and the entire structure can be destroyed in seconds. There is no industry standard wind rating for tents. Most manufacturers do not even test. They market. And then there is condensation, the silent killer of winter camping. Warm, moist breath hits cold tent walls and turns to water. That water drips onto your sleeping bag and destroys its insulating loft. The fundamental trade-off is cruel. Ventilate enough to control moisture and you lose heat. Close everything up to retain warmth and you wake up soaked. Your tent is fighting you from both sides at once. So who decided that a membrane of nylon with zero insulation was the correct way to shelter a human body in winter? The outdoor equipment industry did, not out of malice, but out of market logic. Modern tents are designed to be light, packable, fast to deploy, and sellable at a price point. Those are commercial virtues, not survival virtues. The shift happened primarily between the 1950s and the 1970s. World War II military research produced nylon, polyester, and lightweight aluminum alloys. The post-war economic boom created a family camping market. Synthetic fabrics made tents cheaper and lighter every year, and by the late 1960s, canvas was dead. What replaced it was convenient. What replaced it was profitable. What replaced it was also thermally useless in the conditions that actually kill people. And here is the part that should make you angry. The industry knows this. Every serious mountaineering guide, every military survival instructor, every search and rescue team understands that in a true blizzard emergency, a snow shelter will outperform any tent on the market. But nobody puts that on the hang tag at the gear store. If your tent failed you on a cold night, that was not your fault. You were sold a product designed for commerce, not for the physics of cold weather survival. The system changed around you and then charged you $700 for the privilege. Now, let us get into the 9 techniques. These mountain men understood that modern tent design cannot replicate. If you are finding this valuable so far, hit that like button. It tells the algorithm to show this to other people who need to see it. Technique 1. The snow cave and its 72-degree thermal differential. Fresh snow is 90 to 95% trapped air by volume. Each tiny ice crystal creates a lattice of immobile air pockets that dramatically slow heat transfer, the exact same principle as fiberglass insulation in your house walls. Snow's thermal conductivity measures around 0.045 watts per meter Kelvin for fresh undisturbed snow, compared to 2.2 for solid ice, roughly a 50-fold difference. In practical terms, snow delivers approximately R1 of insulation per inch. A snow cave with walls 12 to 24 inches thick provides R12 to R24, equivalent to a well-insulated residential wall. Your tent fabric provides R0. Historical data compiled from Arctic survival research documented an interior temperature of 23 degrees Fahrenheit with just 2 occupants and 2 candles, when outside air measured -48, a 71-degree differential. The mountain men did not know the math. They knew the result. Technique 2. The cold trap entrance. This is the piece of engineering genius that separates a snow cave from a hole in the ground. Because the entrance tunnel sits below the sleeping platform, warm air, which rises, gets trapped at the level where you sleep, while cold, dense air drains downward and flows out the entrance. It is a passive ventilation system with no moving parts. The Inuit perfected this design over centuries, and the U.S. Army FM 2176 Survival Manual now teaches it as standard doctrine. No tent has ever replicated this thermodynamic trick because tent doors are at ground level. Every time you open a tent flap, you dump your warm air straight out. Technique 3, the Quinji, the snow shelter anyone can build. Unlike an igloo, which requires hard-packed wind slab, snow cut into precise blocks, the Quinji works with any loose snow. You pile snow into a dome roughly 7 feet tall. Let it sit for 2 or more hours so the crystals bond through a process called sintering. Then hollow it out. The Athabascan peoples of northern Canada invented this technique. The word comes from the South Slavey language. The Canadian Armed Forces still teach it in cold weather instructor training today. The trick that makes it work is guide sticks. Push 12-inch sticks into the dome before you hollow it out. And when your interior wall reaches the end of a stick, you know you have hit the target, 30 centimeters thick, thin enough to let some oxygen diffuse through, thick enough to insulate. A Quinji with 2 people inside stabilizes near 32 degrees, no matter how cold the air outside. Technique 4, the fire reflector wall. Mountain men who built lean-to shelters understood that a campfire alone wastes most of its heat. It radiates in every direction, but stack green logs or flat rocks into a wall 3 to 4 feet high on the far side of the fire, and that wall bounces radiant heat directly back into the lean-to. The shelter effectively doubles its heating. You feel warmth on your face and on your back at the same time. Modern tents cannot use an open fire at all. They melt. The mountain man's shelter was designed around fire. The modern tent is designed to exclude it. Technique 5, the buffalo robe system. A bison hide taken in winter has 2 distinct fur layers, a dense woolly undercoat and longer guard hairs that together trap an extraordinary volume of dead air next to the body. Fur traders and frontiersmen universally describe the buffalo robe as the single most critical survival item on the plains. One frontier historian documented that the buffalo coat at times made the difference between life and death in harsh western winters. When Clyman survived that 1823 blizzard, his buffalo robe was doing what no synthetic sleeping bag of the era could, providing insulation that worked even when compressed against the ground, shedding snow rather than absorbing moisture, and blocking wind completely. The robe was not gear, it was a system. Technique 6, the Dakota fire hole. This is a below-ground fire pit connected by a tunnel to a second air intake hole roughly 1 foot away. The design creates a natural bellows effect. As cool air is drawn through the intake tunnel, feeds the fire from below, and superheated air rises vertically from the main pit. The result is a fire that burns hotter with less fuel, produces almost no visible smoke, and is nearly immune to wind. Dakota and Lakota peoples used this design for exactly those reasons: efficiency and concealment. Mountain men adopted it. Inside a lean-to or wickiup, a Dakota fire hole generates concentrated upward heat without filling the shelter with smoke. Your propane camp stove cannot do any of this. Technique 7, pine bough bedding and wall insulation. The ground will kill you faster than the air. Frozen earth conducts heat away from your body roughly 50 times faster than still air. Mountain men and indigenous peoples solved this by layering conifer boughs, such as spruce, pine, and fir, into thick mattresses, sometimes 1 foot deep. The branches create thousands of small air pockets between the sleeper and the frozen ground, functioning as a natural sleeping pad with an R value that scales with thickness. Wickiup builders also wove boughs into the walls themselves, sometimes 1 meter thick, creating insulation that a tent's nylon shell cannot begin to approach. No modern sleeping pad achieves the same insulation to weight ratio that has a properly built bough bed, using materials that are free and everywhere in mountain timber. Technique 8. The Tipio liner and convection chimney. The Plains tribes who wintered at high elevation understood airflow engineering that would impress a modern HVAC designer. The tipi's inner liner, a 6-foot-tall hide wall hung from the interior poles, created a gap between itself and the outer cover. Cool air drawn under the outer cover flowed upward through this gap, carrying smoke out through the adjustable smoke flaps at the top. This passive convection chimney ventilated the shelter without losing interior heat. Some families stuffed the gap with grass insulation and added an interior canopy called an ozan, creating what one trapper described as a tipi within a teepee. Banked snow around the base sealed the bottom. A family could maintain comfortable warmth at 40 degrees below zero with a small interior fire. Your tent has vents that let in cold air, hold air, and let out warm air, with no mechanism to separate the two. Technique 9. Hot rock radiant heating. Football-sized rocks heated in a campfire for 1 to 2 hours absorb enormous thermal energy and release it slowly as infrared radiation. Mountain men and indigenous peoples transferred these rocks into shelters, placed them in shallow pits, and let them radiate warmth for hours after the fire was out. The rocks do not require oxygen, produce no smoke, and pose no fire risk to shelter walls. Think of it as a wood stove made of stone, one that charges itself in the campfire and then heats your shelter silently all night. No batteries, no fuel canisters, no failure points. So if all 9 of these techniques work, and the US Army, the Canadian military, and every major survival school confirm they do, why did we abandon them? The answer follows a familiar pattern. Speed: a tent deploys in 10 minutes, and a snow cave takes 1 to 3 hours of hard labor. Cost: teaching shelter building skills requires instructors, practice, and time, while selling a tent requires a warehouse and a website, and a new technology made the old ways seem unnecessary. Lightweight synthetic materials from post-war military research and development made manufactured shelter cheap, portable, and accessible to millions of people who had never set foot in the wilderness before. The hidden cost arrived quietly. We traded a survival system, an integrated body of knowledge about materials, terrain, thermodynamics, and the landscape itself, for a product, a fragile product with no insulation, limited against wind, and prone to condensation, a product that fails precisely when you need it most. The 1967 Denali disaster proved this, when 7 climbers died inside tents destroyed by a megastorm, while rescuers at lower elevations survived the same blizzard by building an igloo and snow walls. The timeline does not lie. The more we trusted manufactured shelter, the more we lost the knowledge that actually saves lives in extreme cold. So what do you actually do with this information? Here are 3 options, from easiest to most involved. Option 1. On your next winter trip, carry a compact snow shovel, about 2 pounds, and learn the basic quinji before you need it. Pile snow, wait 2 hours, hollow it out using guide sticks at 12 inches. Practice in your backyard first. That single skill is worth more than any tent upgrade you will ever buy. Option 2. Take a winter survival course. The military's cold weather operations course at Fort McCoy teaches improvised shelter construction over 3 full days. Civilian schools like Dave Canterbury's Pathfinder School and the Mountain Shepherd Adventure School in Virginia teach the same core techniques. Morris Kochansky's book, Bushcraft, Outdoor Skills and Wilderness Survival, remains the definitive text on shelter building with natural materials. Read it, practice it. Option 3, the minimum, is this. Understand what your tent actually is, a wind and precipitation barrier with no insulation. Stop expecting it to keep you warm. Layer your sleep system for the actual outside temperature, not for some imaginary tent interior temperature. Insulate from the ground up. And if a real storm hits, know that digging into the snow may be the decision that saves your life, not a sign that something went wrong. James Clyman was not a primitive man stumbling through the wilderness. He was a materials engineer who happened to work with snow and bison hide instead of carbon fiber and Gore-Tex. The mountain men were not surviving in spite of their environment. They were building with it. And the knowledge they carried, borrowed from indigenous peoples who had refined it over thousands of years, is not inferior to modern outdoor technology. It is superior to it in the exact conditions where survival actually matters. The knowledge was never lost. It was abandoned, traded for convenience, buried under marketing, and replaced by products that look impressive in a gear store but fail when the wind starts howling. We are digging up the survival knowledge that the outdoor industry left behind, one buried technique at a time. Subscribe if you want to be here when we uncover the next one. Tell me in the comments what forgotten skill you want us to investigate next.